Hello everyone. Okay, I hope we are well. This video is primarily aimed at those in the D block red bubble because we're going to play the swing states game. Normally I do this in class with students and normally it works quite well. However, a couple of groups are actually doing it in class early this week. There's one group, I think it's the A block, second year politics. One group anyway is going to do it on Teams. We'll see how that goes. But unfortunately, D block red, you're going to have to do it electronically. Now, what we're going to do, you're going to pretend you're either a Democrat or a Republican, and your plan is to win the presidential election. Okay? Now, in order to win the presidential election, your candidate needs to win 270 electoral college votes. Each state is worth a certain number of these electoral college votes. In a later video, I'm going to explain the electoral college, explain why each state's got different numbers, etc., etc. Don't worry about that now. All your plan is to get the 270 votes. Now, I have sent you out a document, a Word document, which has on here a load of data. So let me just put that on the screen. Here it is. So on this sheet, which you've all been sent out, you've got the results of the previous 4 or 5 US presidential elections. So on the left-hand side down here, we've got the different states in alphabetical order: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, etc., etc., etc. EC is the electoral college votes. Remember, we need 270 to win. So Alabama's got 9, for example. Alaska's got 3. Arkansas's got 11. Arkansas 6, etc., etc. And these are the winners and the percentage which the candidates got in previous elections. In bold is the winner. So in 2000, George Bush got 56% of the vote in Alabama, Al Gore, Democrat, 41%, Bush 62, Kerry 36, McCain 60, Obama 38, Romney 60, Obama 38, Trump 62, Clinton 34. Okay. Next you've got Alaska, 3 electoral college votes, and you can see the percentages there for what everybody got. Now, what I'd like to do, first of all, on this little game is, first of all, decide whether you're going to be Democrat or Republican. I suppose if you do this on your own, in your own kind of house, you're going to have to be schizophrenic and be Democrat and then do it as Republicans, perhaps. Or if you've got a friend or something, you want to, you can pretend one's Democrat, one's Republican. It's up to you. But your first job is decide which are your safe states. So for the Republicans, which states are safe? It's not worth campaigning in those states if you're a Republican because you're going to win them anyway. And you're pretty sure the Democrats ain't going to campaign in those states because they haven't got a helling chance. It's a bit like, the Labour Party trying to campaign in Hinckley, for example, or the Conservatives trying to campaign. Well, actually, things aren't very good at the moment for Labour, are they? But you know what I mean. Okay, so find out the states which you think are safe and how many electoral votes that leads to. So if we go back to our previous example, let's just end this show. Okay, with this Word document, you can see that Alabama, I think there's very little chance of the Democrats winning Alabama, isn't there? Trump got 62% of the vote. Mitt Romney, Republican, for 60. So I think that's probably 9 votes for the Republicans. Alaska, again, that's a pretty safe Republican state, so that's another 3. So now they've got 11 electoral college votes. Arizona, okay, looks pretty Republican, but actually, if you look at the last election, 2016, 48-45. So I wouldn't put that as a safe Republican state at the moment. Okay, so you wouldn't add on those 11 to that 11. Arkansas, pretty safe Republican, so you'd add on another 6 onto your 11. California, pretty safe Democrat state, so that's 55 on the bank of the Democrats. So work your way through and decide the safe ones. It's up to you what you think the level is going to be between safe and unsafe. Now, to help you do this, what I suggest you do is that you try and have literally 5 to 10 states which you think could flip one way or the other. Bearing in mind in 2020 the Republicans are on the defensive because they've already got the White House. The Democrats are more on the offensive. So for the Republicans, you might be looking at which 5 or 10 states you need to put resources in, you're going to spend money in to try and prevent them flipping over to the Democrats. So there might be states which you only just won perhaps, or states you only just lost out on in 2016. And for the Democrats, looking at 5 to 10 states, which again the Republicans only just won last time, or perhaps a couple of states which you weren't far off from winning, or which ones you might want to defend perhaps if you're on the edge for one or two. Okay, once you've done that, they're the states basically where you're going to send the candidate out and the states where you're going to spend money. And then the final job is then decide what are the top 4 states. So think about the final week of the election campaign, or think about where we are now. Okay, which are the 4 most crucial states you need to get yourself over that 270? So from that kind of safe state number, you should have a number for that. So you might have 167 or 212 or whatever. Your 5 or 10 states which are going to get you comfortably over 270, and then which are the 4 most crucial states which you need to spend time on in those last couple of weeks of the election campaign to try and make sure that your candidate wins. And from that, hopefully what you should get are the so-called swing states, the states that flip from one election to the other on a fairly regular basis. So if I were you, press pause, go through those various tasks, and then see which states you come out with as being potentially the swing states, or the states which you think can flip from one party to the next. Now, from the exercise, you probably found there were some states which fairly often switch from one party to the other, or are relatively close in election outcomes. So if you have a look, you probably had Florida on that list. It's worth 29 votes, 29 electoral college votes. So it's a big state, and it often flips from one party to the other by less than 3 or 4%. You probably have Ohio on that list. Again, that often flips from one party to the other. Trump did win it with a reasonably healthy amount in 2016. There were 3 states which Trump gained off the Democrats, which, if you look at the previous data from 2000, 2004, 2008, you might have thought were relatively safe Democrat states, and that was Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin as well. And if Hillary Clinton didn't really campaign very much in those states in 2016, and those states each switched to Trump by less than 1% for him. So those are 3 really crucial states, and you probably realise that if Trump wins all the states he got in 2016 but doesn't win those 3, then he loses. And actually, if you look at where Trump's been visiting in this election campaign, let me put it on the screen, you can see he's been quite busy in those 3 states. Now, this map, it shows where the president's been all year. Okay, so it doesn't. So some of them might be official visits, but if you have a look, this magenta-y pinky colour are September's visits. You can see this is Pennsylvania. It's been there an awful lot. Michigan here, it's been there an awful lot. Wisconsin's here. I'm sure you can see this mouse, by the way. I'm not too sure whether you can or not. If you can't see the mouse, Wisconsin's been to a lot. Minnesota, he thinks he's going to win. He's been there a lot. Oops, and of course he's been to Florida down here as well. He's had a couple of stops in Nevada. So these are the swing states, essentially. So for Trump, it's essential for him to win the election. He has to win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin again. Okay, they're crucial for him. He needs to maintain his control over Florida, okay, which is a fairly close one. Arizona, if you look, Hillary Clinton didn't lose out by much. The opinion polls are suggesting Biden might win Arizona. So that's become another kind of crucial battleground state as well. So the swing states are basically these particular ones. Now, we're going to look at the Electoral College later on, but it's the Electoral College and the fact these states are worse in amounts which does lead to this situation. Now, if you look in 2016, you can see again the states which Clinton and Trump visited. And again, you'll notice some similarities. Florida, okay, both Clinton and Trump went to a lot. You'll also notice how they went to different parts. Clinton didn't go to the very northern bit of Florida very much because that's mainly Republican. She went to these big cities like Miami, which is down here, St. Petersburg's over here, for example. North Carolina, okay, is another one where they both visited quite a lot. You see here, Trump went a lot to Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa as well. whereas Clinton did less in these states, though she did go to Iowa quite often, quite a lot in to Ohio quite a lot, and fair bit in Iowa as well. So you can see how there's these handful of states which are really crucial for this election. Now, a couple of states are renowned for changing on a regular basis. Ohio has only chosen the losing candidate twice since 1860. It's often seen as a crucial state, although it is trending a little bit more Republican these days. Florida is the super duper one, okay? It's the third largest state in terms of population, got a third number of electoral college votes. If you have a look, it flips from one party to the next by very small amounts. Year 2000, 537 votes separated the two main candidates. Although there's actually a video of this on Teams if you want to watch it, called Gore and Bush, the Endless Election. This was contested and had to be decided in the Supreme Court. Okay, Obama won it by a fair amount in 2008, less in 2012, and then 2016, Trump won it by 112,000 votes as well. I think there's about 8 million people voted in Florida, so we're not talking huge percentages here. Of course, it's worth so many votes, that is why so much time's been spent there. And again, the Republicans know that if Trump does not win Florida in this election, then he loses, because those 29 votes are worth more, aren't they, or about the same as those Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, which I mentioned before. Okay, and as again, a bit like Ohio, it's normally chooses the winner, Florida. Okay, 1992, it didn't vote for Bill Clinton, the other states did, and 1976 as well, but very often it votes for the winning candidate. A few questions you've got to ask yourself from these swing states is, what does it tell us about the health of US democracy? Because lots and lots of states are ignored. Okay, because they always vote for one party, no one really bothers to campaign there. But if you look at California, okay, 38 million people live in California. You know, that's half the population of the UK. It hasn't been contested in any election for president since 1984. Okay, they virtually have no say in the outcome of the election because it always votes the same way. And in fact, this diagram here also shows this. The states in red are those that have voted Republican in every election since year 2000, and the states in blue are those which have voted Democrat in every election since year 2000. The ones in this yellowy colour are those which have switched sides at least once between 2000 and 2016. So again, you can see how vast swathes of the country, actually, no one really bothers to campaigning because they're never really going to change. It's all concentrated on these ones. And even some of these have now become safe for one party, like Virginia has become like a safe Democrat state now, as has Colorado and New Mexico. Okay, so again, it just shows in terms of democracy. If you get a question about, you know, failings of US democracy, again, the fact that the swing states are relatively small in number can actually change and alter the results is an issue that they have. Okay, I hope you found that useful. There's a little map in your booklet to colour in. There's a couple of questions on the swing states as well.